The St. Louis Ram, the Hall of Famer, 16 seasons, the numbers completely ridiculous. Over 1,000 catches, over 15,000 yards, 91 touchdowns in his Super Bowl winning career, the greatest show on turf. Isaac Bruce, thanks for joining the Stack in the Box podcast, my friend. We appreciate it.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate you.
So let's just start at the top here. Why do you think you were able to last as long as you did playing the most insane sport on the planet, if you will?
Oh, man, I tell everybody it was all by the grace of God, man. And I think, playing such a collision sport, which I call it, it takes a mindset. Obviously the guys who have played who come before me, the ones who have played in my era and the ones who will come after me, I think we're a little off. I mean, to play the sport, but at the same time, I felt like the mindset, having the right mindset while you're playing was extra important. So I learned a lot from the guys that came before me and the coaches that coached me. And we were able to do 16 seasons, man. 16 training camps. I say the games and everything was easy. The training camps were I mean, Navy SEALish.
So you played on the greatest show on turf, 2 Super Bowl appearances. You won one of them. One of the greatest offenses of all time.
Yeah.
The rules were different back then. Like DBs could do a lot of different things. Going across the middle actually meant something. If that offense played by today's rules and today's structures, what do you think that the numbers would have looked like for you guys?
Well, I call it a different rule dispensation that's being played right now. I always start off when I get this question about, when we got off the plane in a certain city, San Francisco, Atlanta, sometimes in San Diego, we knew from an offensive standpoint, wide receivers particularly, that there was a level of respect that we had to have for the guys that we were preparing to play. And I say that to say this is because when there's a running lot looming in the defensive backfield, there's a Steve Atwater looming in the defensive backfield, Cliff Harris. We had to respect those guys because the rules were obviously different. They were starting off with headshots. They were being paid to really get you out of the game. Let's be real. Punish you. So any opportunity that they got to level a big hit on a guy like me, a guy like Torry, Holt, they were going to take that opportunity. Either you catch the ball or not catch the ball. You can expect, and that hit was coming. So, I mean, the difference today with the way the guys and the rules are being played and the way it's been played, it's totally different. I think we heard one of the quarterbacks here recently, said that it's gotten softer. I mean, it isn't soft to a certain point where any Joe off the street can come and play it. But if you've been in it, you can tell that there's a level of softness that has come through the league, and it's truly different.
Is there one hit that still sticks out in your mind when you think about it? He really got me.
Oh, absolutely. I tell you what, from a fan standpoint, the big hits where a receiver's going across the middle and it's like, bam, those type hits, they really don't hurt. I mean, because you kind of expect it, you can bounce up from it, but it's the hits that you really don't see, where a guy's being held up by one guy and the other guy comes in kind of away from the camera and delivers a blow to you when you're trying to hold the football. Those are the hits that can linger through. I mean, the game's played on Sundays. You can feel that till Thursday. So, there are a couple of guys that delivered some blows to me, man, that I wasn't really happy about.
How long did it take you to realize Kurt Warner's pretty damn good? Like, obviously, you guys came out of the gates. You're 3-0. He's on SI. I think it was after week 3. But as a receiver, how long did it take before you were like, this guy can play? Like, we're not screwed with Trent going down.
Well, we didn't get much reps that training camp with Kirk. Trent Green was the guy. He came in. He knew the offense backwards and forward, and he was real well rehearsed in the lingo of the offense. So he and Mike Martz had a combination before they came to St. Louis, and And we didn't get many reps with Kurt. We were going right into the last preseason game when Trent goes down with the ACL tear. And, you know, it took a little while for Kurt, man. I mean, he came into the huddle. I felt like, you know, there was a level of confidence there, but there's nothing like your confidence growing from actual play on the field. And I felt like, you know, once he started to get that around week 6 or 7, I felt like he was comfortable. You know, to the NFC game, from that moment to the NFC Championship game, I felt like he was pretty comfortable in who he was, and he was able to show his skill set. And once he was comfortable to that level, man, you just saw him explode. Yeah,
even if you have tremendous belief in yourself, success on the field, there's no better substitute, right? But than that, like, oh, okay, I actually am right here. I do belong.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. I mean, the National Football League is a proving ground. So, you know, you can talk about it. You can be drafted very high or very low or not drafted at all. But at the same time, once you get on a practice field, you know, training camp particularly, you know, it will either expose you or really make you feel like you're supposed to be there. So that I think every player goes through that transition.
You mentioned training camp. I just want to touch on that before we get too far away from it. I mean, you played for Chuck Knox, Dick Vermeil, Mike Martz. We got a long list here we could go through. Yeah. Mike Singletary, even on the back end with the Niners. Who had the toughest training camp?
By far, it was Dick Vermeil. By far. I mean, it's not even close. You know, I talked with other guys who played for Coach Vermeil in Philadelphia, in Kansas City, and to a T, we can all share the same stories, the same memories of just how hard and tough his training camps were. And he was relentless, and the camps and practices themselves were relentless. And, you know, he had a method of breaking you down and building you back up. So he definitely did the breaking down part. But, you know, the practices themselves, man, they go down in history as legendary.
I wanted to ask you 2 more things quickly about that team and about that season, since it was just such a magical year. I mean, heck, there's a movie coming out right now about Kurt Warner's career and his ascension. And of course, that 99 years, he was part of it. You were on the team when they were in LA to begin in 94. Team was terrible. All of a sudden, 99, you win it all. And you made the ultimate play of that season. You catch the winning touchdown pass. If you could just take me through that play, what you're thinking when you line up, knowing the route you're about to run, and then how it all shook out.
Well, that play was it was called in the huddle, and Coach Martz wanted to, you know, do like he's always done, really just kind of move the clock, give us a shot to win the game at the end, take us right into the 2-minute warning. It was a play that we have run plenty of times. Normally what we do is we have 4 wide receivers in the game, and we spread the defense out. Run everybody off. And from there, what we do is we just check it down to Marshall, let Marshall get what he can. But for some reason, at that point in the game, I felt like, you know, it was my moment. When I heard the play call, I knew automatically that I would end up getting the football. I'd get a shot to make a play. And Kurt just drops back. He throws a shot. He gets hit. His arm gets hit by Javon Curse. And I see the ball in the air. I'm running stride for stride with the defender. But at that moment, you know, it's kind of like, you know, every dream that a guy's ever had as far as playing football. And I always envision other people, including offensive and defensive linemen, when they envision football, it's always either throwing a winning touchdown pass or catching a winning touchdown pass. And, you know, I had that moment lived out right there in Atlanta for me. And just being able to run between tackles, run away from people, and just solidify and cement that moment in the minds of fans and myself included. One of the greatest plays of my life.
You played a long time with Torry Holt, who's one of the greatest receivers of all time. You're now in the Hall of Fame. He's been right on the border. What would be your case for him to join you in Canton?
Well, first and foremost, I think when you put up his body of work, you know, from the time we drafted him, and in the place where we drafted him, 6th selection overall, he truly exceeded that selection. And his numbers, I mean, it's pretty much a numbers game as far as what you've done on the field when it comes to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Torry's no different. He's amassed 13,000 career receiving yards. And within those yards, he's the only receiver that has 1,300 consecutive seasons. And, to the impactful plays that he made. I mean, just being in the offense that we played with, when you are developing a new wide receiver or you're comparing wide receivers to that may be in college or guys that you may want to have on your team, Torry Holt's film is the film that you use to measure that by. So, from that standpoint alone, I think that garners him being in the right position to become a Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Isaac, how do you feel about the Rams being back in LA?
Initially, I had mixed feelings about it. I mean, I got drafted in Los Angeles, 1994, after 2 years of junior college in Los Angeles before that. So I was familiar with Los Angeles. I was enjoying Los Angeles before the move. But I always say I grew up in St. Louis. I was a St. Louis Ram for a very long time. So many great moments for me personally in St. Louis. Met my wife in St. Louis. So many great victories, losses, defeats, and just a ton of time that I spent in St. Louis. And for the team to move back to Los Angeles, I was kind of on the fence about it. Wasn't happy about it. But at the same time, I looked at it from a business standpoint, from what the leadership was doing there. And, I could see it coming. So when it happened, I just wasn't, just entirely upset about the move itself. But my heart went out for the fans. And, just being back in Los Angeles right now, it's kind of fitting, considering we started there. Had it been another city that we were relocating to, by all means, man, I'd still be tearing it down. I don't think I would be affiliated with the team at all. But when it's Los Angeles, what other place could you be?
Last thing for me, I'm just curious. I'm sure you still watch plenty of football these days. Who's the receiver that you look at and say, he reminds me of me when I played? He's a guy who I see a lot of me in him, and maybe even more so, who's somebody you just enjoy watching? Just is a guy you really like watching on a week in, week out basis.
Well, the Rams are lining up against the Arizona Cardinals this weekend, and I really like DeAndre Hopkins. Everything he brings to the table, his approach to the game. I believe he's a football player first, then a wide receiver. He likes to mix it up. He catches a lot of passes, with his hands. He's just a great football player in my sight. So he's been very consistent since he came out of Clemson. And I think I see a lot of what he does as far as what I used to do on the football field. And that's one guy that I'd pay to see play.
Gotcha. Yeah, you had a very interesting Hall of Fame speech. It was memorable in the sense, a lot of guys go up, they say, hey, thanks, take some flowers and walk off. You were not afraid to say, hey, you know what, there was a guy who told me I couldn't play. And then you list off a few guys who, by your standards, couldn't play and say, hey, I made it. What went into that speech? Did you hesitate to do that? Or were you like, no, I'm going to make sure that whoever that scout was, he's going to know exactly what I think about his evaluation 25 years later?
Not at all. I felt like, for the rest of my life, when I get an interview, I'll talk football. I'll talk, X's and O's. We just talked about DeAndre Hopkins. I'm going to get that opportunity week after week, just as long as there's football around. So I felt like the Hall of Fame speech was a moment to really not only encourage others, but just to be that example, man. I mean, it wasn't that I was trying to rub anything in anyone's face, but it just kind of came out the way it did. And, it was something that was significant years ago. I didn't use it as motivation. I always believe that discipline is a lot stronger than motivation. So I didn't really think about that guy during my career, but as time waned, as far as me being done playing football, it kind of crossed my mind. So I felt like just being in that moment, being in that situation, as far as a player is concerned, it was time to make mention and give homage to that person.
I like to call it your Michael Jordan moment because his Hall of Fame
speech. It was very similar.
Right?
Yeah, it was very similar. Yeah.
I mean,
you put Michael Jordan on the stage to talk about his basketball career. I don't think he's one to really really tell you the X's and O's about his footwork and everything and what he felt like when he's making the shot. He'll want to let you know why he went at a person so hard and the reason, this outcome was the outcome that set it all up.
Well, how would you best describe just the mentality of the highly successful? I mean, anybody who gets to your level is completely ridiculous. And then there's guys, I still watch on social media all the time, like, Kobe Bryant clips where he's talking about, if I got up at 4, then I'm working out at 5, and then I'm back and I'm recovering at 9, and then I'm back out there to, it's like there's a separation even in that level of dudes who just are so unbelievably committed all the time. When you think about just understanding it and how you got to where you were at, what resonates with you?
Well, really, I watch and I see the same things that you see with those great players. I mean, for me, I think they eat, sleep, and think their sports so many times, and they're often using their imagination or just playing that movie back in their head of what they've done, who they are right now, and what they're going to do. I think it's just that important to them. And many times they get an opportunity to physically practice those things. They'll go to a gym. They'll go to a football field. They may leave the physical part of it, but the mental approach of it never leaves them completely. They'll probably sleep and dream about it. Even to this day, I've dreamed myself running slant routes and catching passes in a game. So I just felt like that God places these gifts on the inside of us and plants us. And then, he entrusts us to believe him to make it flourish. So, we continue to do the watering. We do the harvesting, but the increase part, which comes from God, it never stops and it never ceases. So that's my answer for that, man. And I just always thought and dreamed. I ate a lot of football. I enjoyed playing the game. It seemed like as if, I do it for free. I mean, I always say I practice, I play the games for free, but you got to pay me to practice. That was my mentality.
Was Jerry Rice a motivator for you?
I think he was. He was the standard when I was in high school, college. Definitely when I was early on in the league. He definitely was the guy to watch. His approach to the game and just how he ran routes. And for me, I believe you have to be a football player first and then a quarterback or then a wide receiver or offensive lineman. I think he had all of those things. I mean, he had every characteristic that you wanted in a football player. And he was a great wide receiver, man. Explosive, catching balls at their high points, never back down from challenges, and very highly productive. So he was that standard. And, a lot of us chased him for a while. And I just think he was one of the greatest ones to do it.
The game is, as we talked about a little bit before, the game's changed so much, right? Like it's a lot easier now to run a route across the middle. You're not worrying maybe as much as you used to about getting a headshot or getting decleated. What was your favorite route to run when you were a player? Was there a route that in a clutch moment you're like, you know what? Give me a 9 route, give me a slant, give me an out. What was your go-to?
My go-to route was any route where I was pretty much 99.9% getting the football. I mean, pretty much that was it, man. So, I mean, we were taught to run the route tree, and we just couldn't take one route off a route tree and say, bam, this is what I want to be known for. But just running the route tree was very, very significant and important to, everybody that I was around, everybody that was tutoring me, from the Henry Elliott's, Torry, I mentioned, Ricky Pro. We were all of the same mindset, and any route that was coming to me, I'm all for it.
I think we're far enough away from it. We can call one guy out and compliment one QB. Who didn't get you the ball enough, and who did?
There were some guys that I had to train, and the training part comes in practice, and you can sit down in a film room and really tutor a guy and have him, if he's a young quarterback, you can help with the opening of his eyes from a quarterback's position. And you can also help with the opening of his eyes from a wide receiver position to know when a player is open in the NFL and versus in college is two different things. So there's a couple of guys, man. I think every quarterback I played with did a great job getting me to football. There were a couple of guys in college that training session went a lot longer than I expected it to go. But there were definitely guys out there. But for the most part, I felt like, all the guys that I helped train these guys, and they helped train me as well.
Maybe it's an obvious answer. Which game in your career meant the most to you? Was it winning the Super Bowl, or was it the NFC Championship game against the Bucs and getting to the Super Bowl and win that game in St. Louis?
Well, obviously, the game versus the Bucs to me is a lot more significant. I think in some ways it's probably bigger than the Super Bowl itself, because you have so many guys, so many players that have played this game professionally. And I'm thinking of one guy who's played 16 years and never went to a Super Bowl. So just to be on the cusp in an NFC Championship game and have that denied or have it accessed by winning that game, it was huge. So both of my trips to the NFC Championship was significantly big.
I don't think that I just had to do a little research on the fly here. I think Steve Matthews might want to watch this video.
No, he was pretty good. He fed me pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Steve, you're good. You're
Yeah.
good. You're good.
Yeah.
Hey, Isaac, thank you so much for the time today. You have been working with Special Olympics for a long time. They honored you, of course, around the Hall of Fame induction. And we really appreciate the partnership that we've had with Special Olympics. What about it for you warms your heart the most, I guess?
Well, just getting everyone involved in sports. I think I was first introduced to the Special Olympics in 1995 in St. Louis, and to still be affiliated with them, I think is special. They get an opportunity to be a part of sports. They're more knowledgeable than what people give them credit for, and they're sports fans as well. So, I mean, I believe fitness is a high priority for every American, and we should do our best to participate. So, just having the opportunity presented to the special needs and Special Olympics is awesome.
You're a guy who would have been successful no matter what here. But so if we took sports away from him, what do you think Isaac Bruce would have done?
Oh, that's easy, man. I probably would have created the first sports team and been an owner of it.
So I don't see why we can't have you be an owner down the line here. I mean, why not?
Yeah, me either. I don't see it either. Yeah,
maybe bring a team back to St. Louis.
That may be part of the plan.
Oh
yeah.
Hey, St. Louis is going after the NFL pretty good right now. Maybe the NFL would be more than happy to give St. Louis another shot.
Hey, man, I'm for peace, and maybe the NFL is for peace. St. Louis may be for peace, and just put a representative of the peacemaker right in between the two. So I can see that happen if they're serious about the inclusion of people of color being in ownership positions. We see that soon.
Do you think they're serious?
I think sometimes they throw words at the wind, but I don't think they're the judge with the gavel that really says yes or no. So their seriousness may have went up probably a percentage point. It would probably be at 0.8 right now, but I believe in miracles, man.
Hey, we got to move it forward as best we can, one little inch at a time, or 0.8 at a time, 0.08. Hey, awesome to talk to you, Isaac. We really appreciate it.
No problem, man. I enjoyed it.
Isaac Bruce, working with Special Olympics and talking to Stack in the Box.